Good afternoon. My name is Carol Hogue, and I'm the lead instructor here at Darkness to Light. I want to welcome you to our webinar that we're having this afternoon for facilitators. I want you to sit back and relax and be comfortable, have a pad ready to take some notes because we're going to get some very good information from our panelists. Just a little bit of housekeeping. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A feature. And we'll try to get to those questions at the end. So as those questions come up, just go ahead and pop them in the box. And the chat is available for networking and comments. So if you want to go into the chat area and just start putting in your name and where you're from, that would be awesome. And that way we can see who you are. And I'm sure we have some friends out there that we already know, and we'll be meeting some new ones again today. Please please know that if you need to speak to anyone after we finish this conversation today, help is available, and that help is our hotline, which is you can call 866-4FORLIGHT, or you can text LIGHT to 741-741. Back in October, in honor of National Hispanic Heritage Month, we began spotlighting the voices from this community, and today's educational opportunity highlights the culturally competent considerations for marketing, delivering, and maintaining engagement when facilitating stewards of children among Hispanic communities. Now, for the purposes of this conversation, we will be using the term Hispanic when we refer to the population because in part, it corresponds with the national holiday and the emphasis that we've had during the month of October and now into early November. But we recognize that some people may identify differently, such as Latinx or Latina. And so we just want to know that we have all those bases covered, and we welcome you to this conversation. Our goal is to provide our facilitator network with culturally sensitive and relevant resources that will lead to the advancement of the prevention-oriented communities. And so we want you to have the skills that you need, and who better to teach us about that than some folks who are already doing that. So it's my pleasure now to introduce you to our two panelists. The first panelist is Liliana Will. Liliana has over a decade of experience in public health in the nonprofit sector, supporting families and children. Currently, Liliana works for the Clackamas County Children's Center as a prevention coordinator, and that's in the state of Oregon. She is also a recently certified Darkness to Light instructor. So welcome to the team, Liliana. And then our second panelist will be Tony Steer. And Tony is a trauma competent affiliate with the Trauma Free World, as well as a trust-based relations interventions educator. Try saying that 3 times. And this fuels her work with adoptive and foster families in Houston, as well as in orphan care communities around the world. Tony does a lot of work in Guatemala. Tony works at Houston's First Baptist Church, and she is the director of Legacy and a Darkness to Light certified instructor as well. So we have some very talented instructors, and I'm very excited that we have these two women with us today to share about the work that they're doing. I'll welcome, and I'll turn it over to you. So be sure to use the chat box and also the Q&A box so that we get everything recorded here so that we can do our questions later. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Thanks everybody for joining us today. I'm very happy to sharing some time with you. Thank you, Carol and D12 for the invitation. And as Carol said, hello, and my name is Liliana Will. I am certified instructor for D2Ls. I train facilitators in both English and Spanish. I hope that after this webinar, you walk away with 2 things. The first one is you feel you have the tools to provide quality workshops to the Hispanic community that will generate interest in additional workshops. And the second one, you are prepared to expand and grow your capacity to do outreach, to find and schedule workshops with the Hispanic community. Next one, please, Leah. Thank you. Considering these two general objectives of this webinar, let's review the 6 goals of my presentation to help you get there. Number 1, I want to provide information about the Hispanic community. Number 2, let's talk about the Hispanic community beliefs. Number 3, I will share the lesson learned by D12. Number 4, I will take a close look at what is needed and what we can do. Number 5, I will review effective communication with the Hispanic community. And finally, number 6, I will review strategies for working with the Hispanic community that will get you more successful workshops. As we do this work, we should keep in mind a vision of where we want to end up. I believe the work we do incorporates diversity. We are dedicated to bring multilingual access. Our programs serve all of the community we live in. The United States has a diverse population. The Hispanic population is growing. It is up to 10% since 2010. The median age of the Hispanic community is increasing. But the Hispanic community is still a very young population with the median age just under 30. That means the bulk of our audience is their 20th and 30th. When you think about these trends, I want you to analyze your own community. Can you answer these questions? What are the Hispanic demographics in your region? Knowing them can help you shape your program services. Are your programs structured to serve this population or other minorities groups? Take this information from this webinar to make sure programs are improved for the Hispanic community. Make sure you remain aware of the demographics of your community so your programs can serve all of it well. Not all of us are personally aware of the Hispanic perspective in our society. I am lucky to be a member of the Hispanic community. So I would like to share with you some of the general thought process the community holds. There is a general lack of trust in the system. People fear the system will take their children away. It is important that you help build trust in the system. Make sure your program builds trust with its participants. The Hispanic community usually remains silent on the topic of abuse. People try to deal with the issue in private. When delivering Stewards of Children workshop, please keep this in mind. We know that there are a lot of resources out there. We do. Hispanic community may not know about them due to the language barriers. For some, fear of the deportation discourages participation too. Let's keep this in mind. D2L is committed to serve the Hispanic community. That is why it developed Stewards of Children Spanish workshop. There are some members of the Hispanic community who prefer to participate in their native language. As a step to success for your organization and you, it is important that you improve its ability to deliver the workshop in Spanish. For example, Children's Center and organizations I work with has 12 facilitators, and 6 of them can provide the workshop in Spanish. Meeting this community need is made easier by D2L because the workshop and the materials are translated and adopted for the Hispanic community. The D2L staff is committed to working with you. Facilitator trainings are provided in English and Spanish. Your leaders in the Hispanic community can facilitate your workshops in the language that they prefer. To meet our goals, these resources need to be incorporated into our programs. You can evaluate where you or your organization is at. Do you offer online resources? Are you providing trainings for the Hispanic community? Does your outreach involve participation and partnership with others also serving the Hispanic community? The answer to these questions should be yes. You want your work to be cross-cultural. Relationship can be a catalyst to the growth in your outreach to the Hispanic community. What can you do? There are many of the most successful steps I have taken to successfully deliver many Stewards of Children workshops to my Hispanic community. you need to find the key groups and partner with them. Networks already exist. Your job is to deliver your program to an organization in that network, Through the relationships that you build, continue to provide your program across the network. If you are not a member of the Hispanic community, then you may want to know what can help you be successful when communicating with the Hispanic community. If you are a member of the Hispanic community, then this may help remind you of how, in some ways, your messaging to the Hispanic community should be different from others in your community. When communicating with your partners in the Hispanic community, remember the important role their culture plays in their lives. For example, remember how important the family is in their lives. When possible, meet person to person or call to talk with following up on new leads. Start partnerships with well-respected community leaders. Only use forms of mass communication with a partner after the relationship has been built. Your connection with one community partner can open doors to your next partner. This is very important. Working with well-respected leaders can improve outcomes, and that's what we want. In the next section, I would like to talk about delivering a workshop you schedule with your partner. If you want to go home and apply this information tomorrow, then start here. Find a leader who is relevant and trusted in the Hispanic community. If you don't know, hey, attend a community event where leaders in the Hispanic community are present, such as go to a Hispanic Chamber of Commerce meeting or go to a Latino Nurses Association meeting. B, also look to your existing partners for Hispanic members and visit their organization meetings. Search your local listing and the internet too. But remember to reach out in person when you find a lead. This is very important. After you identify potential partners, you want to determine how you will approach a leader in that organization. Do it in a way that will lead them to agree to schedule a workshop. If the leader is Hispanic or if the community they serve is Hispanic, then make sure your approach is culturally sensitive. Build a relationship before you make your pitch. Preferably meet in person. Share with them an overview of the workshop and explain who in the organization should attend the workshop. It is their employees or members of their community. Provide information and feel free to offer their team a short presentation about what the workshop is. If that is what the decision makers need to feel comfortable becoming a partner with you. If you need to do a short presentation to get your partner to agree to schedule a workshop, then remember, this presentation is not a mini version of the Stewards of Children workshop. The short presentation is an overview of the process to provide a workshop, so the partner can understand their role in making it happen, why it is important to their community, and to make them comfortable with this difficult subject matter. Sometimes a prospective partner can be scared away from agreeing to support a workshop if they must make a rushed decision. In the Hispanic community, it is ideal to take your time building the relationship. So this step of a short presentation is often needed with reluctant partners. Here is an overview of what you want to talk about in the short presentation. In your presentation, you should be general, and you want to ask questions and understand your audience concerns. They wouldn't schedule a workshop if you don't have time to address those concerns. As always, take the time to chat and build the relationship before starting the presentation. When scheduling a workshop, be considerate of your partner needs. Think about offering it on evenings or weekends. Support childcare or help with food and technology. I recommend you engage your partner to lead in the recruitment and RSVP of participants for the workshop. The Hispanic community prefer to get the message from a person they trust. Support your partner's recruitment efforts by providing language-appropriate flyers electronically and in hard copy as needed, so they equally can distribute them through their channels. To ensure a successful workshop, I recommend you communicate frequently with your partner prior to the workshop. Find out how many participants there are. Make sure all the logistics of the workshop are coordinated. It is best to contact the leader the day of the workshop. Prepare yourself for the workshop by familiarizing yourself with the names of the participant, if possible. For example, if someone arrives and you are familiar with them, that will make a positive impression on them. Arrive early so you can be finished setting up and have the freedom to mingle. Be sure the technology works and all the tables and materials are set up in advance, so you can spend your time building a relationship and a rapport with the participants. Introducing yourself and asking what the participants' names are will make them feel welcome and comfortable. Ask them how their day was. Remind them that food is available and about childcare if applicable. Begin the workshop after everybody has arrived and been graded. It is important to talk in a culturally sensitive way to make everybody feel welcome at the Stewards of Children workshop. In the Hispanic community, you may find the responses to the subject matter will result in not standard opinions. You, as a facilitator, may not expect if you don't work with Hispanic community regularly. It helps tolerate expressed feelings. The best way to deal with discussion that is not productive to the goals of the workshop is to reorient the conversation and don't cut people off. Provide information to make participants think that there are better options. Don't be in a hurry to leave after the workshop is over. Include time to stay and answer questions individually. The Hispanic community may be more comfortable asking you directly rather than in front of the group. After the workshop, provide resources they may need. The time after the workshop is a great opportunity to get more leads for new partners and future workshops. Not to mention new volunteers for your organization and to meet prospective new facilitators. Take time to visit and be social and say goodbye. Remember, if you give the participants a quality workshop that is culturally sensitive to the Hispanic community's needs, they are more likely to recommend the workshop to their family, friends, associates, and other leaders in the Hispanic community. A successful workshop does not end the day of the workshop. Just like a partnership doesn't not end with one workshop. To maintain a good relationship with your partner in the Hispanic community, call or meet with the leader who supported your workshop in the days following the workshop. Offer to provide the workshop again regularly. Invite the leader to be part of Partners in Prevention. If possible, send a message to the participants to thank them. Get feedback and offer your support one more time. Follow up with those who offered to help you find work with other leaders in the Hispanic community. In conclusion, I want you to leave feeling good about two things. You are not alone. You don't need to reinvent the wheel or build the house block by block all by yourself. Your community has an existing Hispanic community that you can tap into with a little work. You need to do your research to find out who the leaders are and what events there are in the Hispanic community where you can start to build partnerships. These organizations are like yours. They want what is best for the Hispanic community. Your job is to help them learn about stewards of children and how it will protect children in the Hispanic community. So your leader can see that you have similar goals and a partnership to provide a workshop is in both parties' interest. And the second one is, I also want you to feel good that when you get a partnership with a leader in the Hispanic community, that you can deliver it in a culturally sensitive way that makes the participants feel welcome and will allow you to leverage this initial success to find additional partners and provide more stewards of children workshops for the Hispanic community. As an important step, we know that is how to prevent child sexual abuse. And then that's the presentation I have for today. Thank you so much, and please pass it along to Tony. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liliana. There was so much good nuggets in your presentation. I took 3 pages of notes, and I'm excited to be able to implement some of these practices myself. As a darkness to light facilitator, I began facilitating stewards in 2008. And at that time, I was living in Guatemala City and had a desire to begin bringing awareness to communities. I was living in a residential facility where children were coming to us as a result of having experienced some type of abuse or maltreatment. And I felt like we needed to move upstream and begin to connect with families before child protection had to get involved. And so Darkness to Light became an incredible tool on my tool belt that we began using in our ministry and children's home in 2008. And in 2013, I became an instructor, realizing that the demand for steward sessions was much greater than my capacity. And so we gathered a team, and that team has been working since 2013. And we feel like stewards is one of the greatest tools on our tool belt in the way of educating communities and actually preventing relational ruptures through a need for child protection. And so today I wanted to just share from that very particular experience that I have in Latin America, a few things. The first are a few challenges that we encountered along the way. One of the things that we encountered that you may encounter both here and abroad is the cost of stewards of children. For some communities, the cost $10 a book, which may not seem like that much for a workbook, but for some of our communities, it has been an extensive challenge for them. And so we have found, where grants may not be available here locally in Houston, we found the Child Advocacy Center to be fully on board with providing the steward sessions. And so we've been able to work with them to provide a reduced rate. And then overseas, we've done the same thing. We've looked for ministries and churches and other community and youth serving partners who would be willing to both underwrite the training, at least a portion of it, and provide space for it. So I love that Liliana talked throughout her presentation about partnering with key community leaders, because we have found over the past 7 years that has been the absolute key to success in providing stewards workshops. And so I would agree with her and encourage you to do that. We also found in step 5, and Liliana talked about this as well, that when we talk about reacting responsibly, many of our communities find this to be a step that brings about a lot of fear. We see communities, especially in at-risk areas, we call them red zones, where placing a call to an authority is not just a risk among their family and friends, but it actually could be a risk of life. And so as you get in and begin to get to know your communities, I can't encourage you enough, as Liliana did, to get to know the community that you're going to be providing the workshop in ahead of time, to do your homework so that you can know the challenges that community members are going to have as you work through these 5 steps to prevention. Specifically, step 5 tends to really catch people up. And so knowing that as you go in will help you to provide a safer space for your participants and some solid ground to stand on as well as they wrestle through how to adapt step 5 to what they are doing. And then as you dive into this and begin to offer stewards in Hispanic communities, know that it will probably be received well, which has been the case for us. It has been incredibly well received, and we have more demand than we have facilitators. And so I love that Liliana ended with ask community members who are excited about this awareness piece to join you as a facilitator, because we need more men and women. We need more adults doing this work. And so those have kind of been our top 3 big challenges. But I wanted to share with you in closing just 2 stories that I feel like have really shaped some of the excitement around the work that we've done. We have done small gatherings of 12 to 15 where we sit in a small room and we break bread together and drink coffee and then begin a steward session. And those sessions have been precious and wonderful in their own right. But about a year and a half ago, we had the opportunity, 2 years now ago, we had the opportunity to partner with a local school. We had an incredible leader that we had a really deep well of relationship with. And when she began to hear about what we could offer in the way of prevention, her enthusiasm was just off the charts. And so she asked if I would travel to Guatemala and assemble my team. And she said, I think I can get about 200 people, 200 parents to come and walk through Stewards. And so we kind of reluctantly bought 300 workbooks thinking, we don't know if 300 or 200 people are going to show up. But we went ahead and bought them knowing that they would go to good use. And we showed up the day of the presentation with 3 laptops, 3 sound machine, 3 sound machines, and all the things that we needed for that day. And really thought that we would be showing up for 15 people, if I'm honest. It was the middle of the rainy season, and as we walked into that school, we were astounded. There were already lines of people to take this, to participate in the steward session. We trained over 150 people that day in 3 different sessions, 50 in each session with 2 facilitators in each session. And it was phenomenal. The lights were out, the rain was pouring, and we had batteries and generators to keep our steward session going. And it was phenomenal. No one left, everyone stayed. They participated with enthusiasm and walked away feeling equipped in ways that they had never felt before. And this was in a small village. It wasn't even an urban setting. And so what an exciting thing to be able to have a community leader who has that much relationship, who can say, this is exciting for me, and I know it's going to be both exciting and helpful for you, even if the topic is hard to talk about. It was thrilling to be able to walk away from that school that day and know that we had equipped 150 parents in protecting their children in an area that was considered a red zone. So this work can be incredibly exciting. So I just want to encourage you to dive in and build those relationships. And the last story is also a small village. We had a community leader who called and said, We've noticed that a lot of rescues are happening, and when we go into the homes to do the home assessment and figure out what went wrong, we're seeing that everybody is sleeping in one bed, and we're of the belief that that's part of where the problem is originating from. And obviously this is a poor country, and parents are just doing the best that they can. But we began to hook our Stewards of Children sessions together with a parenting class. And at the end of that parenting class, parents were able to get bunk beds, sufficient beds for everyone in the family. And that program continues to this day. And it has been an incredible partnership. And again, led by a community leader who saw a need, who connected with our team, and we've been able to utilize those relationships to build deep wells, both for prevention and further relationships in those communities. And so I just want to encourage you, get in, roll up your sleeves, build relationships, and grow your team, because you will need more facilitators for the demand that you will have as you get stewards workshops out in your communities.
I want to thank both of you so much for what you have shared with us today. Liliana, you have given us a nuts and bolts breakdown on how to do things. Tony, you have come along and just reaffirmed everything that Liliana has said. And then just so many ideas and so much inspiration. I thank you for doing this and for doing the work that you do. And I know from talking with Tony in the past that their work that they do in Guatemala, they work very hard to just be an outside resource and let the ideas and the inspiration and the ownership come from those communities. And whether it's a Spanish-speaking community in Guatemala or a Spanish-speaking community in the US, they all want to take care of themselves and to take care of their families. And so I think that's a very important thing for us to remember as we're beginning to think about working in different areas or expanding our work that we're doing in different areas. So thank you both for your comments and your ideas and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us today. I do have a few questions that have popped up, and one was from someone who said early on when Liliana said that the facilitator manual is now in Spanish. Yes, everything that comes in a facilitator kit in the box that you get, I should have one right here, but I don't. In the box that you get is translated into Spanish now. At one point in time, only the manuals, the workbooks were in Spanish and the facilitator guides and script. But we made a commitment earlier in the year to make sure that that happened. And we have now just gone ahead and made all these resources available to you in Spanish. And so that should be very beneficial to building communities and groups who are doing stewards of children. The next question I have is the training now available in an online format now that we're in the middle of a pandemic? And yes, we have had stewards of children available in an online format for many, many years. And so now with the pandemic, let me just walk you through some of the ways it was that we just did stewards in line on purpose, in person or online. And so now we have some options that can kind of fill in during the pandemic. And so there's always the option to have a group of people take stewards of children online and then meet in a Zoom meeting or whatever platform you want to use, and then come together and do a debrief, just do those discussion questions. And that way they get to make those applications and they get to review what they've seen on the video. The other way is to do virtual facilitation. And so to do a virtual Stewards of Children workshop training, what we have is we have taken our Stewards of Children interactive workbook. We've made it a digital resource. We also pulled the personal prevention plan from the online training. So they actually get 2 resources that they work from. And you watch the video with them. When the break comes, you come back and you use those resources to reference and to guide the conversation, go back and do it all over again. And so it really is, we have worked very hard since March to find ways for us to continue to do stewards, even though we can't get in a group. And then I encourage you to, when it's safe and when your community is okay with it, continue those group experiences, because to me, that's where the heart of stewards is doing it with a group. But right now, this room has to be our group. And so I think, you know, we have learned to make some adjustments. And then the next comment, I'm reading it from another screen, so I don't want you to think I'm just not looking at you guys. Liliana mentioned great ways for marketing, engaging, and building trust with participants at in-person trainings. Are there considerations for doing this through virtual? And I think I really answered that question. And yet what I hear both Liliana and Tony saying is that in both situations, you still have to have that one-on-one in-person relationship. And it's not something, hello, let's grab a cup of coffee and now we're going to start the training. It takes time and energy and a commitment and a willing to listen and a willing to really be a part of the community. And the way that, as Liliana said, the way you become a part of the community is to get to know some of the people in the community who are in this special group. I mean, we want to get to know the people that we're serving, and that's no matter who it is. And so I think that's important. I don't have any other questions. Carol, where can I find the resources in Spanish? Those are on the facilitator dashboard. So I just encourage you to get in there on the facilitator dashboard and look for the materials in Spanish. We have other things that are in the translation phase and are pretty much done, but have not been posted on the website yet. But you will begin to see that Darkness to Light is committed to, if we publish something in English, it will be also translated into Spanish. And so we want to be very supportive. Liliana and I have frequent conversations, and at times she says, well, Carol, do we have this in Spanish? And some of the times I have to go, I'm putting it on the list. I'm putting it on the list. So our goal is to get to the point where we have all of our materials and all of our supports available in both languages. I think that's it as far as questions, but we have about 5 or 6 more minutes. So please shoot us your questions. Anything else you want to know? I mean, here's a chance. You've got 3 people on this webinar that can answer most any question about darkness to light that you have. Can we post the email from Tony? Tony, can we share your email with folks? Okay. Liliana, may we share your email with folks? Perfect. We'll get that out probably in the follow-up information that we send out. We'll just go ahead and give you that. Or if someone wants to put that in the chat that has access to it readily, that would be great. We're doing all kinds of things at Darkness to Light. We're innovating. We're trying to be creative. We're trying to be responsive to your needs. And so we're very excited about the things that happen. And I know that your organization is very much like our organization. We are not the same organization that we were in March. We have pivoted, we have changed, we have grown, we have zigged and we have zagged, and we've tried things, and now have refined things so that we have some really great opportunities for you to do things in the digital world as long as we need to, and we'll continue to provide that for you. We didn't talk about that, and this the other thing that I wanted you to know too is that we're also doing facilitator workshops virtually. So if you have a group of facilitators that want to be trained, we are doing virtual facilitator workshops, and they've gone really well. We've done 9 or 10 since in the last 3 or 4 months. And so we have new facilitators coming on board because we can't stop, because our kids need us. We've got to protect our children. So I think, well, would y'all mind if we finish 3 minutes early? Or Liliana, Tony, do you have something you want to say? Tony goes, no.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. It's my pleasure to share some information about the Hispanic community. And if you need any support and how to approach the Hispanic community, just let me know. I'm more than happy to answer or support you anyway.
I'm looking at something that's coming in. There's a question about when people share their personal stories, should you stop that? And I think with that, we have to be very cautious and very careful and very respectful. Mm-hmm. So the goal is for Stewards of Children is a public education program. And so we're doing prevention and we're doing education, and we're not offering therapy or support groups because that's not our role or our goal. So that was a really good question. And I think on that note, we will say thank you for joining us. We look forward to gathering together again. Thank you again, Tony and Liliana. You guys are rock stars, and we appreciate you sharing your knowledge and information with the group.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.